So, you know, what are you going to do?
Controversy fucking never hurts. You know, as long as you're not fucking the guy from, Seventh Heaven. That's a rough one.
That's bad publicity.
Yeah.
That's bad publicity. The guy from Seventh Heaven is fucking kids.
Yeah, he pulled his dick out in front of a 12-year-old. Let's go see him on Tuesday.
It's not going to be the same.
Where's he playing?
Right.
Well, even in the shows we did together, those fans are all, they just loved it.
It was a weird split, too, and I was like, our fans and Howard's fans, and they were really great crowd. There was no issues.
They got along.
I
went to a
same
few.
people, really.
Yeah, you were there in Atlantic City.
They absolutely got along, which was kind of cool to
Yeah,
see.
that first show, that first weekend, we sold 6,000 tickets.
That's right.
I
think you sold 5,500 of them.
Well, that was, you know why? That was really my first time back after stabbing myself on heroin, so people were like, okay, well, let's just see if he's walking. It was almost the Elephant Man type thing. Let's see if he can walk, exactly.
Stabbing myself on, are you glad that happened in a weird way? No, but
No.
did it wake you up?
It got me off heroin, I guess. That's a positive. That really is, man. Heroin is one of those things where everything you hear about it's true. There's no hype.
I never did.
It's not like God bless. Don't do it. I mean, look, the Grand Canyon, some people are disappointed, Mount Rushmore. Heroin's everything you hear. Heroin is everything is advertised. It takes your soul. I never sucked a cock, but if I wasn't making a lot of money.
All right, well, we each have an experience to share with each other. So,
I was blessed with a good job making money, but it was literally I was making... For a while, I was on the road with a security team. I had bodyguards to keep me off drugs, and another 2 were getting me drugs at the same time.
Come on.
You talk about chaos. I had 2 guys I hired to keep me away from heroin, 2 guys I hired to get me heroin. And,
they fought it out every night.
It was like
who usually won?
The humidifier and the dehumidifier.
What do you think?
The heroin always won.
Always won. Okay.
Because I'll tell you what, listen, these guys, if I really want to get it, I'm going to get it. They got to sleep at some point. There's shifts and stuff. I had a guy, I was at a hotel in Vegas, I won't say which one, but the guy left it under a garbage can outside on Las Vegas Boulevard. I just went out, and he told me which garbage can it would be under, and I left money underneath it, and I grabbed the shit and I went back in. And it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. No one saw me get up and leave. I mean, if you want to get... It's either that or try to do a show in withdrawals, and I've done that. And that is not a good show.
How long after do you start puking and going like whatever?
About 7 hours. So you got 7 hours, man, from the last fix. So it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job.
So you basically had to at least 3.5, 4 times a day just to maintain.
Yes. Here's where the living hell came in. Say I got a gig in Pittsburgh, okay? You can relate to all this except for the heroin part, okay? Right. I got to get on a plane in Pittsburgh. Now, I got maybe 100 Percocet on me. That'll stop the withdrawals for a couple of days. Do I try to get through security with that? Or do I risk going through security and go to jail? You know? And I got a record. I'm a convicted felon. I could look 3 to 5 years for trying to get that on a plane. One time I tried, and a security guy was a fan, and he said, Art, I won't call the cops, but I got to take this shit. And I'm like, really?
I thought he was a fan.
I said, well,
you're not really a fan, then.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, if you're a real fan.
Yeah, you're a real fan. You go,
this could be half the shit.
I checked them.
So now I got to go to Pittsburgh, all right, with no shit. I got a show in 5 hours.
Well, couldn't you have a couple Percocets or no?
Well, he took everything. He took everything. So now I'm naked going in there. So now, and this happened in about 18 major American cities, I would get to the hotel with my road manager. He'd go in to check up and everything and check in. He didn't know anything was going on. I literally I check my bag at the front desk, I make sure he's gone, I walk around, I get to a town car outside the hotel. And I say to the guy, every town car guy knows, I say, I need heroin. I need
Oh, you just say it straight up.
I say, he goes, all right. He goes, how much you got? I go, I got like $4,000 on me. And he goes, his eyes were, So the problem is, like a tumbleweed, you keep gathering people, though. Because now this kid's like, oh, you're that comedian, right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, can my sister come to the show tonight? I'm like, yeah, whatever you need. So now this guy's in my life. Right. And he's an important guy in my life because I can't fuck him over. He goes, listen, we'll go. So I go to this awful part of town, the worst part of Pittsburgh. I've been to the worst part of Kansas City, the worst part of Detroit, which is Detroit. The worst part of St. Louis, the worst part of Seattle. I've been everywhere with these town car guys because I couldn't get on a fucking plane with the shit. So if I can't score there, now these guys go, hey, give us a couple of tickets, we'll bring it to you. So now these guys are in my life, and they want the money up front, of course. So now I give these guys 2 G's, and I go, get me enough to whatever, And About half the times they showed up, half the times they
So
didn't.
you did get fucked sometimes.
I've had to do sets in withdrawals. The other thing is you shit your pants sometimes. I mean, you'd get diarrhea.
Did you shit your pants
throw
on
up.
stage?
A couple of times I almost stopped. One time in Stuart, Florida, I said to the opening act, the local guy, come out here. You got to do 5 minutes while I go to the bathroom. I said I had to take a piss. I would have shit my pants on stage. Jesus. Could you imagine that video? Could you imagine that?
Right.
I'd
Much
much
rather
rather.
went viral.
She'd release that as a special.
I mean, I almost shit my pants on stage, and I mean, like one of those withdrawals heroin shits is like because you get binded up, so it's 5 days of like omelets. It would have been the worst moment. Like I don't think I could have psychologically recovered.
Right.
You know, and so that's the living hell of it. That's the living hell of heroin. And if you're traveling, like most people on it, don't go anywhere.
Did you ever think of FedExing it to yourself? Like,
I did.
you did do it.
One of the best Mitch Hedberg jokes ever is that my FedEx guy's a drug dealer and he doesn't even know it.
So goddamn funny.
How great is that?
Brilliant.
But that's another guy. Like I got into it well before Mitch died, and I had real serious conversations with him about it. He was as dark as you could get about it because I was always actively trying to get off it because I said I remember the days when I wasn't doing this, and it was just better. You know what I mean? It was just better. And he said, Mitch said to me, I tell my friends, I tell everybody, look, I want to do this till I die. I like it too much.
Wow.
I want to do this till I'm dead.
Did
Don't
he
try
really
to
like
stop
it,
me. And listen, you think you love it because if you're not on it, it's like the worst flu you've ever had times a million.
When
And you
did-
might shit your pants on stage in Florida, you know.
When did you stop loving it? And then how many more years
You know
was
what?
it after that?
You know what? Oh, probably a year in. Of the 6 years I really chased the dragon, as you say.
Right.
A year in, it was hell. A year in, it was like I'm not high. I'm not getting high anymore. I'm just doing this to maintain a regular lifestyle, and I'm doing this just to get on fucking stage. And you know, listen, God bless the Stern Show, man. I was making 80 to 100 grand a weekend, and I would, you know.
Is he looking for people?
I think I ruined that scene. I officially took I took a metaphoric shit in that scene. So I would say to my road manager, you gotta give me 15 G's in cash. He would get it. It's funny, I always paid my taxes though. I always was that Al Capone thing with Italians. I was like, no matter what, I gotta report this. So I overpaid, so I would never get in trouble. But I would, you know, again, if you overpay these, and I would say like the dealers, I'd say, look, you could rip me off here. I grew up, you know, in the city. I'm not an idiot. You could fucking beat me here.
Right.
But I'll give you another $2,000 if you bring it. So think about that. And you know, these guys are businessmen, and they would always show up, and they would always bring a girlfriend's friend. Who are these people? These are friends of mine. How do you know this guy? We played baseball together once. The bullshit stories just mounted, and they would like take over. And they were smart enough to know they had carte blanche. They had me in a shit situation, so they would take over like they were Elvis's crew in the back. They were like, you know, they would put cold cuts in their purse. I'm not kidding.
Why you Midnight Cowboy? If it's free, I ain't stealing it.
Exactly. They just took a little too much. So yeah, when that's your life, that's when I know. When that became my life, I said I gotta stop doing this. See, Mitch started shooting it. I never shot it.
Oh yeah, you were snorting it.
I snorted it. So, which means I had to get better quality shit, which is very scary. I had to get this white Peruvian shit or this China white shit they talk about because nothing else would work for me. The brown stuff you had to shoot, and
Why'd you never shoot?
I just. To tell you
Scared,
the truth, I never
the famous scared of needles, but
well, here's the thing. I never really knew how to. I'm surprised. I go to a hospital. Someone who's been to medical school for like 5 years to become a physician assistant can't find an IV. They can't find a vein. There's like a guy sleeping on a beer bottle on 7th Avenue who finds a vein.
he'll find a vein.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They tie themselves off. It was complicated. You know, it's like that old thing. You know, how do you hang yourself? How do these people know how to make a knot when they hang the? You know, once my life became that hell. I was done with it. It took 5 years to get off it.
I never thought about going to the cities and having the cop. And did you, when you taking the Percocets that would help you, couldn't you just put them in? I'm sure you put them in an aspirin bottle. How did you try to transport them?
I used to put them in cigarette boxes, everything. But you know, the X-ray thing, they would see. There's certain things they're on the lookout for, weapons, and they would look for the pills and stuff.
Well, didn't you have a prescription or no?
You know, there's not a doctor.
Not for 100. Yeah.
So I'm giving you 100 for 2 days. Take 30 tonight at 8.
Right.
Yeah, I was taking 25 of that. I was getting up and, you know, it's almost like a cliche for breakfast. I was eating them like cereal.
Just popping them.
Yeah, I remember we were supposed to do the Comedy Central roast together. We were doing Saget's roast, and you couldn't make it because you were
completely because I was in. I started doing Suboxone, the Subutex shit, which if you mix it with heroin within 12 hours, you go into this awful illness. And what happened with the Saga roast was I took Suboxone about 3 hours after doing about 40 bags of heroin, snorting them. And I took Suboxone.
Why did you take it after that?
Because I had forgotten I even took the heroin, and I just said, this will get me on the plane. And the Suboxone is a blocker, and
right.
It helps you with the withdrawals. And that you can get but it doesn't give you the high is the problem. So that mixture totally fucked me over.
Now, 'cause I remember they said the Comedy Central, they're like, look, we'll put a doctor on the plane with you. And
here's where show business gets evil. I thought it was Frank Sinatra. What happened with that was I got on the phone. Talk about a scary conversation. Like, you don't know what their motives are. I was on the phone with Joel Gallen, the producer, who was a good guy. He was sort of on my side by the end, and my lawyer and my manager. And
this is day of or no?
This is morning of. I would have just made it, and they said, and Comedy Central executives, whose names I won't go into, but they said, look, we could have a jet at Teterboro, private jet waiting for you. We'll have a doctor on the plane, and you land, you come right here. And you do the roast, we'll fly you right back. We'll eat the $70 grand it's going to cost. And we'll have a doctor on a plane, which to me means if whatever I needed was going to be administered, And in that hell, I realized it was a bad move. Even in that, I said, I can't do that.
What made you say no? Were you afraid that you just would live through it, or?
Listen, I like the thought of going there and just making it, my appearance, first of all, would have been, you guys, on the fly, you would have written 15 jokes that were just like, and I said, I would have been defenseless. I had my jokes, but I'm like, I don't know, Bob Saget, the Olsen twin, I don't know what the fuck, what would have happened would have been disastrous. And I just couldn't get out of it.
You don't want to humiliate yourself.
I said, I don't want to die. That's the other thing. Who knows what if this guy's going to let me... let me figure out the dose of morphine.
Yeah, listen, we got this guy Conrad Murray.
I'm gonna get some. Can I get some propofol? Basically, they said we'll have an operating room on a G6
in the sky for you
on a Challenger.
That's gonna make you feel pretty important. No, like no one's ever offered to fly. I have to.
That was odd. Right?
They want you for the ratings, Artie.
Yeah. Well, listen. It was flattering that I had that conversation where they said we'll have a jet waiting for you with a doctor on it.
Jeez.
How about that doctor? 6 years of medical school. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing.
That's a pretty cool gig for a comedy. We need a doctor. We need to usher a comedian to Los Angeles.
He's getting me to a roast. That's what other doctors are figuring out cancer medication. The money I spent, forget it. The money I spent and made. I made, and in the 10 years I was working at Howard, I made and blew a small fortune.
How much do you think you spent on drugs, if you had to guess?
One time I tried to figure out dope, gambling, hookers, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Easily a couple $1 million. Easily. And again, I really do hope that, we're laughing and everything, because I like, listen, half of my new specials about shit that I went through in rehab and stuff, and I'm proud that I have the ability to write about it and at least get myself out of those doldrums and turn a negative into a positive. But I really do hope people listen to this and go, I just never want to be like that asshole. Because our generation, my heroes were killed from it. Belushi, Pryor, I loved all these guys. Kinnison had problems, and even with all that, I'm still doing it. Well, what more evidence do I fucking need?
Where you at now with the whole thing?
Well, I've been clean. I drank about, when was it in Detroit? About 8 months ago in Detroit, I drank one day and my diabetes went through the fucking roof. So I was in the hospital in Detroit for 9 days, which was a lot of fun. So besides that, I'm fine, It's a very...
How do you get past the itch?
The boredom is the worst.
Oh,
Are you doing the right thing, though?
Well, yeah, no, I work it not as much as I should. We have mutual friends who help me out with that constantly, but